Hello everyone, back tuning in to the 11th and final Winter 2016-2017 update from GazWeathers.com. So since the start of September, we have been doing every week, every Sunday, a winter update. And I say we began this on the first Sunday of September, back when it was baking hot and very, very sunny and summer-like conditions. And here we are at the end of November, feeling cold, got frost and even had a little bit of wintry weather some places over the past few days and weeks. So it's been a long journey from where we started to where we've got to. It's hard to believe we've been doing these updates for 3 months, but there we are. We are virtually at the end now. So this is the final update. I'm going to try and push everything into this update and the kitchen sink as well. Really is going to be a bumper edition. We may be here for an hour to get through everything that I've got to discuss for this final update. And then that's it. It's cut off and we've got to release a winter forecast. We'll be doing that on Thursday, the 1st of December, and I'll talk about that at the end of the video. But we've still got this final length update to do before we get to that point. So I'll get on with that for you. In a moment. Before I get on with that, just say about the ads. There's links to articles on all the pages. Have a browse of widgets and click through the links. If there's any articles that you're interested in, going to be helping us to pay for our website. Thanks very much for doing that. There's also video ads to most pages. They open content when you watch them. They close back up again. I say it does help to pay for gas service. And Chris Shop is open. So if you've got any Chris Shop to do at Amazon between now and Christmas, just click the green button that says Chris's Shop, takes you to our Chris Shop page where you'll be greeted by some snowflakes so you know you're on the right page, and then click through the Amazon banners. That's the key to the whole thing. Click through the Amazon banners, you go directly through to Amazon. Chris, you've gone from GazWeathers to Amazon, we get a revenue thing on the things that you are buying, and a big thank you to everybody for doing that. Been a huge success again this season. Still got plenty of time to get Chris shopping in, of course. Talking of Christmas, I'm hoping to do a Christmas update later today. Been very busy with these long range updates this weekend, so I've not had time. I didn't have time to do the Christmas update yesterday on Saturday, but hopefully Sunday evening I'll be able to get them done for you. If not, it will be definitely on Monday, the 13th. Christmas update will be on Monday. Very exciting as well. Terry Scoley later today will be releasing his winter 2016-2017 forecast. That'll be on his page this afternoon. So lots of excitement at GazWeathers today. If you didn't see the final season one roundup, by the way, yesterday, we released it on Saturday for the first time ever, just because of the way the calendar's worked out this year, really. So if you didn't see that final season one roundup, it is on Winter Updates page. All you have to do, go to that page, you'll find it. And join the Winter Updates page. Later on today, you're probably watching this video on the homepage. Later on today, this video will be placed on the Winter Updates page. There'll be a written, extensive written report, just summing up everything that we discussed in the video as well. So you can't watch the video in one go. I'd say it's going to be a very long video because we've got lots to cram in for this final update. I'm going to get as much in as I can. So if you can't watch it all in one go, don't worry, you will be able to go to the Winter Updates page and watch it whenever you want on demand, and also read the written report. And with that said, we've got so much to get through, I think I had better get on with the updates. And I want to start with analogs. We're going to start with this update with analogs, and we're going to end the update with analogs as well. So what we're going to look at to start off with is cold or blocking in November. So our good friend James Ackrill has been looking at this for us. This is how November 2016 is shaping up reanalysed. So this is up to the 23rd of November, and you see it has been quite a blocked sort of month. Had above average heights in terms of the 500 metre heights up over North Pole with that red area, and the red area in the Atlantic as well, and then this trough through western central parts of Europe. So clearly it's been a pretty cold month. I think certainly northern parts of the country going to come out with a significantly colder than average November. I think even in the south it'll be a little bit colder than average. But the main thing is the blocking signal has been a very blocked month there with lots and lots of high pressure. Quite unusual autumn this one. Started off with blocking being a position that gave us hot weather in September, and we've ended it with blocking being in a position to give us cold weather in November. So James has been looking back at past Novembers that had this sort of blocking, and the years is found through the reanalysis. Sorry about that. Is 1907. This is how November 1907 was shaping up. The blocking then was generally up towards Scandinavia. So that's our first year, and then 1949, another one with a lot of blocking up towards Scandinavia. That would be extending towards the Arctic as well, low pressure through there. 1953 is our next year. That had blocking through western parts of Europe, but it did extend up towards Scandinavia and the North Pole, and then we have the trough around Greenland. The next year is, look at this, 1962. That's always a year that picks up your ears, because, of course, that is preceding the severely cold winter of 62-63. That had blocking. Actually, the blocking was in a very similar type situation to where it is right now, actually. So it extends from the Atlantic, goes up towards Scandinavia, and then up in towards the Arctic. The trough was deeper, and it was further south. It was just there, rather than being through central parts of Europe. But overall, that's not too far, really, from what we've seen in November 2016. The next year is 1981. That had blocking up here, and also around western parts of Europe. Again, none of these years are total matches, and you'll never get a completely 100% sort of match between two years. So you're looking for the years that are closest to the pattern, really. 1998, next one, that had a lot of northern blocking. It isn't particularly remembered as a cold November, but it did have a lot of blocking in November, and there was that trough across central parts of Europe as well. So that is fairly close to this year. And then our last year, I think it's our last year, but just check. Yeah, that's our last year. So it's 1999. And again, quite similar to where we had the blocking this November, with high pressure being up here. Now, not all of these years am I all that happy with. So I'm going to start excluding the years that I don't think really match up with where we are now, and I'll give you the reason. So let's go back to 1907, which is that chart just there. So this was approaching a period of a solar maximum in 1907. So I would quite like to get rid of that one. 1949, also around a period of solar maximum. I'll come back to 1953, and I'll come back to 1962. Next year, 1981, again, that's around solar maximum. 1998 isn't solar maximum, but it is moving in that direction from the very weak solar minimum that occurred in 1996. So it's sort of in an upward trend of the solar cycle. So again, get rid of that one. And 1999 even more so, because that was close to the solar maximum that occurred in the year 2000. So getting rid of those years really leaves us with 2 years that I think in terms of the solar cycles are quite close. 1953 was close to solar minimum, just before solar minimum actually, and maybe the closest in terms of the solar cycles anyway is 1962. I think that comes out pretty close in terms of its solar cycle to where we are right now in the current solar cycle. So out of those years, I think actually November 1962, possibly, believe it or not, is the closest to where we are right now, November 2016. Now, don't run away with the idea that just because we're having a similar type scenario this November to 1962, we're going to finish up with a winter like 62, 63. That's a very, very extreme winter. It's the coldest winter since 1740. It is very, very improbable that we will get a repeat of 62, 63. But it may be pointing us towards the fact that we might be edging towards a colder winter. Not necessarily saying to be a severe winter, and nothing like a severe 62, 63, but we might be seeing the first evidence there that we are beginning to edge towards a colder winter. Interesting to ponder anyway. Right, that's the analogues done, so let's get on with the oceans next. We're going to have a look at the ocean temperatures. This was how the oceans were looking across the world when we did the 12th update, I should say the 10th update last week. I'm still thinking about those Christmas updates, aren't I? So when we did the 10th update last week, this is how the oceans were looking. This chart is from NOAA from the 17th of November. Three areas we're looking at, of course. We've got the Atlantic over here, we've got the Northern Pacific up here, and then we've got the Equatorial Pacific / ENSO region just there. So that's how the oceans were looking this time last week. Let's have a look at the latest, and this is it. This is the latest chart, and the last chart we're going to feature in these updates from NOAA. So that's how things have progressed over the past week. Very little change again. If anything, again, this cold area up here in the Northern Pacific has possibly strengthened a little bit again, albeit towards the coast of sort of Canada and North America. It's still fairly warm there, but it is rapidly cooling down. I'm quite surprised at how quickly it has cooled down there in the northern part of the Pacific Ocean. Having a look at the equatorial region, so again, that situation last week when we did the 10th update, this situation now, very little change really. We're not expecting any great deviation up to Christmas. It's about how we'll keep things on a borderline between ENSO neutral and weak La Nina, somewhere in that border between the two. If anything over past week, we might have seen ever such a slight cooling again, but nothing that would take us down into proper La Nina conditions. So that's how we're going to remain with ENSO through to Christmas anyway, and then we'll probably see these blue colours easing away early next year. And then finally in the Atlantic, so that situation again in the Northern Atlantic last week, this is a situation now. I think very similar, but things have perhaps strengthened a little bit in terms of the warm anomaly through the tropical Atlantic. Also, this area of warmth around Newfoundland has probably strengthened a little bit. And maybe the cold blob here in the northern part of the Atlantic close to Greenland, maybe that's strengthened a little bit as well. Again, the Atlantic isn't ideal to be getting a blocked sort of negative North Atlantic oscillation type winter. We want a tripole, which is a band of warm, cold, and warm anomalies in the Atlantic. We haven't got a tripole, so that does go against a negative NAO a little bit. But what we have got this year is a warmer Atlantic compared to any year, I think, back to 2012. And the warmer the Atlantic, essentially, the better to get possibility and increased risk of negative NAO. And negative NAO, of course, is what we need for a colder winter, along with a negative Arctic oscillation as well. So it's a warmer Atlantic, which helps, but it isn't a tripole, and we will have to consider this when we do the winter forecast on Thursday. Now, last week, of course, we looked back on past years, see if we can find a match with the current ocean setup compared to this year. And I came out with 1989 as what I thought was the closest match. And that is it. This is the NOAA chart from November 1989. It's not ideal by any means. I couldn't really, to be honest, I couldn't really find a match for this year or anything particularly close to this year's ocean temperature anomalies in the Pacific and the Atlantic, but the closest I could find was 1989, that year just there. Remember, that's much longer ago, so the view is very different. The resolution of the chart is very different, but that's how it looked in November 1989. Somebody asked me on Twitter whether 1996 was a match. And, well, in the Pacific there perhaps is a little bit of a similarity. We've certainly got the weak La Nina signature there in November 1996, of borderline neutral to weak La Nina. Also up here, it's fairly cold there, although this part of the Pacific Ocean is warmer. But I don't think the Atlantic matches up very closely to this year. So this is a reminder of how things are looking in the Atlantic this year. This is November 1996, and I think it's very different, particularly over here around Newfoundland, where there's quite a lot of blue in November 1996, whereas now in that area we actually have a lot of red, we actually have a lot of warm water. So I don't think November 1996 is a match, but it was worth having another look at it, because I thought I might have missed something there. But no, I don't think November 1996 is a match in terms of the ocean temperatures for November 2016. So the closest that I find still is 1989, but it isn't a great match by any means. 1989-1990 was a mild winter, but as I say, it's not a good match at all. I thought I'd just show you this. This is 1962, November 1962. This is from the Kaplan website, where you can go back and actually do a reanalysis of sea surface temperature anomalies. I'm not sure how they do it at all, really. It's fascinating stuff. But this is how, because we talked about November 62 a few minutes ago, of course, with the November, the blocking in November analogue. So I thought I'd just throw it in, and it's not really a match for what we've got this year. So in the Pacific, yes, we have got a signature of a weak La Nina. This is sort of a borderline so neutral to weak La Nina period, late 62 into 63. Sometimes in the past it has actually been designated as a weak La Nina, but just lately NOAA has downgraded again, just an ain't so neutral winter. Kind of similar in the northern Pacific, got this cold air just here and then close to the coast of Canada and North America. It's warmer there. So the Pacific perhaps isn't too far away from the situation right now, but the Atlantic again, it's quite different really. It's fairly warm in the northern Atlantic, then it's cold close to the eastern seaboard, and it's pretty chilly in the northeastern Atlantic, so around the UK down towards Iberia. There the temperature are a little bit colder than average, and it is quite significantly different again, I think, to what we see in terms of the Atlantic sea surface temperature anomaly for this year. So even 1962 isn't a match. If I had more time, if I could do more updates, I'd go back further and I'd have a look at other years that maybe might be able to match up with this year. I perhaps should have done this for earlier updates, but we've run out of time now, so I can't go any further back and see if I can find a match. But of course, if anybody wants to look at this for themselves, they certainly can. The link is on the links page. It's the Kaplan reanalysis website, so do check that out for yourself if you would like to do that. But 1989 remains the closest to what I can find, even though it's not a perfect match for the ocean situation right now. Before we leave the ocean, just want to have a look at the SOI, Southern Oscillation Index. We've been looking at this throughout the updates, of course. So the SOI is reflecting the state of the atmosphere in the southern Pacific Ocean between Darwin and Tahiti. When it's positive, telling you the atmosphere is in a La Nina state. When it's negative, the atmosphere is in an El Nino state. We've been trading positive and negative numbers. So at the start of November, we had some quite positive numbers there, second and third, plus 18 and plus 13 respectively. But if we go further down, we can see that it had some very negative numbers. On the 15th, 16th and 17th, we went to minus 18, minus 27, minus 24. That's reflective of El Nino. The latest over the past week is that we've moved towards somewhat positive numbers. So the 21st is at plus 2, 22nd is at plus 4, 24th is at plus 6, 25th at plus 10, and 26th at plus 9. So atmosphere in the Southern Ocean has moved slightly more towards La Nina over the past week. But again, with trading numbers, it's some weeks we're reflecting La Nina, other weeks we're reflecting El Nino. While this is going on, the atmosphere and the oceans are fighting against one another, and we can't hook up that La Nina. That's the reason we've not been able to get a proper La Nina event going this year. There'll be no deviation of that now. Through to the end of the year and the start of next year, we will remain on borderline La Nina to ENSO neutral. And then in the spring, we'll start to move to something else. We'll probably fade back to neutral, and then we'll have to see where we're off and running next summer. And of course, the El Nino / ENSO updates / La Nina updates will all begin again on the ENSO page at the beginning of 2017. QBO next, going to go off to something completely different. So we know that the quasi-biennial index has been in a very unusual state, doing something that it's never done before, certainly back to 1950. The Westerly QBO on this chart from the University of Berlin is indicated by these darker colours. The Easterly QBO is indicated by the white colours. And the Westerly QBO essentially is when the zonal westerlies around the Northern Hemisphere are increased. So essentially a Westerly QBO is a signal for a milder winter. An Easterly QBO is a signal for weaker zonal westerlies. Hence, you get a greater chance of more blocking. So an Easterly QBO, where we're in this sort of white area, that is sometimes, not always, many years do deviate and don't go along with the plan, but an Easterly QBO should increase your chance anyway of a colder, more block-type winter with weaker zonal westerlies. Now, where we are right now, I'll get rid of those red lines, and where we are right now is just here. We should be in an Easterly QBO, and actually you can see at the start of 2016, the Easterly QBO did begin. There it is, that white area just there. But then the Westerly QBO hung on, and we are still in the Westerly QBO right now, and the UK Met Office and many other Met agencies predict that although we have still got the Easterly QBO low down in the atmosphere, indicated by that area just there, we're actually going to have a Westerly QBO winter, albeit it's a weakened Westerly QBO winter, and it should be easterly. So it's a situation that's never happened before, back to 1950. Nobody really knows why this happened, why the Easterly QBO failed, why the Westerly QBO held on. It's uncertain why that happened. Possibly it could be down to climate change, it could be down to that Super Nino that we had at the start of the year. We know the winter of 2015-2016 was a Super El Nino winter, so possibly that played its part, perhaps a combination of those two factors. Maybe if it wasn't for climate change, we wouldn't have had that Super Nino, who knows. But anyway, we can say we are firmly in uncharted territory with the Easterly QBO, certainly back to 1950. Now, our good friend Stuart Markham from ChorleyWeather.com, and this is the fantastic website of Chorley Weather. Stuart has had a look at the ResearchGate website. I've got the link to this website on the links page. Stuart has a look at the ResearchGate website, where we can actually go even further back. So on this chart, and this actually stops at around 2007, just here, but we know that beyond that, 2007 to where we are right now, nothing like what is going on right now has happened between 2007 and 2015, if you like. So we don't need to see that anyway. But the point is, this is reanalysis of the QBO in a very similar way to the chart we're just looking at from the University of Berlin. This chart, I mean, go further back with reanalysis. It's not totally 100% accurate, but we can go further back than 1950 with this chart. So again, same idea. We've got the Westerly QBO indicated there by the darker areas. The Easterly QBO is indicated there by the white colours. So let's begin to roll back, and we know we're okay up to 1950. We've already seen that, so let's go back to the 1940s. This column just here is for the 1940s, and there we go. It's quite straightforwardly easterly, westerly, easterly, westerly, and so on through the 1940s. The QBO is kind of like a pulse, if you like, or a rhythm, almost like a heartbeat that is very regular and shouldn't be doing anything particularly unusual. So if you think of the way that your heart beats, and if you get an irregularity in your heartbeat, you really know about it. And we've got an irregularity of the QBO right now, and we can see how reliable this pulse is of the QBO through the 1940s. Let's go further back to the 1930s. This is a decade of the 1930s just here, and again you see very much westerly, easterly, westerly, easterly, westerly, easterly, and so on, westerly, easterly, through the 1930s. So again, nothing in the 1930s like what we're seeing now. Back further still to 1920s, which is just here, and again, we've got westerly QBO, easterly, westerly, easterly, westerly, easterly, westerly, easterly, westerly, and easterly again. So once more in the 1920s, we see nothing like what we see now. Remember, this is reanalysis, so it's not totally 100% reliable, but I think it's pretty accurate. I think what we're seeing with the QBO right now really is the joker in the pack for this winter, because it is so unusual and so unique. We go back to the 1910s, so we've got the easterly QBO, the westerly, easterly, westerly, easterly, westerly, then a long run of easterly QBO, so maybe something a bit unusual happened there from around, say, 1913 to 1916. We seem to have a long run of an easterly QBO there. Not quite sure what happened with that one. And then again, we're off to the westerly and the easterly and westerly QBOs. And finally, back to the first decade of the century, which is 1900 to 1910. And once again, very much a pulse and a rhythm that is really very reliable indeed. So right way back to the start of the 20th century, we can see, although it's not 100% reliable and we can't totally guarantee, but this is correct, we don't see really anything like what's happening now with the QBO. So we are in a very, very unique and different QBO state, and this will be the greater known about this winter. And if the winter forecasts go wrong from anybody, it will probably be pinned on the QBO, because it's just a factor that we can't really quantify because it's so unusual and so unique. And when will we go into the easterly QBO? That's the other big question. It doesn't really matter for this update, but quite when we're going to go into the easterly QBO, I am not sure. So do check out that website I was talking about. It's the ResearchGate website. Find that on the links page. And also check out Stuart Markham's website at Chorley Weather. Stuart's a great friend of Gasworthy's, and I know Stu's going to be watching, so big thank you for all of your help and time, Stuart, and good luck with your endeavours on Chorley Weather. Right, we're going to go on to hurricane activity next. Something unusual has happened there, because even though we're almost at the end of the hurricane season now, we've actually had another storm. So our numbers have changed. We've been looking at this Wikipedia page since the start of the winter updates, and we've got some different numbers. I thought the hurricane season was over, but actually now we're at 16 total storms, total depressions, 15 storms, 7 hurricanes, that's the new one, and 3 major category 3 or above hurricanes. The hurricane, we have to see where it goes if we go up here. It's Hurricane Otto, and it developed there and ran through in towards Puerto Rico, just there. So very late season hurricane, and I think it gave Puerto Rico a bit of a battering for the first time in a very long time. So I say, really unusual to get a hurricane there. Doesn't really impact anything for us. We know we've had a bigger hurricane season this year than we've had for the past few. I think it's the biggest hurricane season since 2012, but I have seen some evidence, and it might even be a stronger hurricane season than 2012. But certainly in terms of total named storms and hurricanes, we haven't reached the number that we had in 2012. Nevertheless, it's a signal that possibly supports an increased chance of blocked conditions this winter. We will factor it into the winter update. Arctic sea ice next. So we know we've been lagging in terms of Arctic refreeze from our death spiral year of 2012. So this is 2012 just here, the green dash line. This is the minimum Arctic sea ice extent that occurred back in September. Then we did quite well for a short time in September, just the start of October in terms of a refreeze. But since then, we really have been lagging the death spiral year of 2012, and that's where we are right now, still well behind 2012 in terms of total sea ice coverage. And what's gone wrong there is that it's been so warm over the Arctic during this autumn. So this is the Climate Reanalyzer website. I used this website a few days ago, or a few weeks ago in an earlier update. This just shows you how warm it's been over the pole, or how warm it's going to be over the North Pole during the next 5 days, this 5-day forecast. And just look at that, the temperature anomalies over the pole still there in the realm of being around 10 to 15 degrees above average. Notice underneath that we've got the cold air being pushed out through particularly northern parts of Siberia, but also coming down into western Russia, and it's pretty chilly over western parts of Europe as well. But over the Arctic, just there, down into America, very warm temperatures being forecast again for the coming 5 days. And that's been going on really since the start of October, when the Arctic oscillation trended negative. We've got lots of blocking appearing. Been going on since then, and it's the reason that the refreeze has lagged. What you've got to do to get the refreeze going over the Arctic is get it very cold up there, sort of lock the cold in, have it milder through the mid-latitudes. So it would be a milder signal for us if we was having a rapid refreeze over the North Pole. But we've gone against that, had lots of blocking, which pushes the cold air out of the pole into mid-latitudes, and that's the reason that the Arctic sea ice has stalled. Now, this is quite an interesting website. This is weatheriscool.com. Again, the link to this website is on the links page. This is looking at the polar vortex and the strength, really, of the polar vortex. I thought I'd just throw this in for you. So what you're looking at here is the stratospheric temperature forecast, and that's really determining how strong the polar vortex is. Now, this red dashed line just here, within this larger yellow area just here, the red dash line is last year. This is through this period, the date's on the bottom of the chart, so that is 2015, 2016. You notice the polar vortex was very strong there, and had really cold stratosphere as well, so a very strong polar vortex through the winter of 2015, 2016. Now, this is where we've been so far with 2016, 2017, this blue line just here, trending really a long way down. Get rid of all those lines. So look how much further, how much weaker the polar vortex has been through this autumn, really back to October, starting in October, which is just there. Look how much weaker it's been compared to last year, where the polar vortex was very, very strong, really, really strong. Polar vortex, and the forecast is actually to keep things certainly significantly under average. This is the forecast part of this chart just here. Very significantly weaker than average polar vortex is expected during the coming few days. So we've had the disruption of the PV over the past few days, over the past few weeks, and really back to the start of October. It looks like this disruption, this weakened polar vortex, is going to continue for certainly into the start of the winter, possibly running on further into December as well. Now, of course, while I've had this warm Arctic, we've been rapidly building up snow cover across Russia and Siberia. So we know what happened with this. I won't go into this in much more detail. It's not really that important. Now, this was how snow cover was looking across Eurasia. So we've got Western Europe over here, Eastern Russia, Siberia over here. This is how it was looking last week when we did the 10th update. This is the latest. If I refresh the page, you might get it. So there we go. And comparing the 2 weeks, very little change, really. The snow line is about across the Eastern Europe, Western Russian border, and it's still there across the central northern part of Scandinavia, fall down a little bit further south. we know that what happened was mostly important in October, when we had that rapid advance of snow cover at the end of October, juxtaposed with the warm conditions and the block conditions that we had in the Arctic. So whatever happens from that onwards, and we'll factor it into the winter forecast we do on Thursday, won't be especially important what's going on there right now. Solar activity next. This is the solar disk on our side of this today from solarham.net. The activity is officially designated as very weak. We've got one fairly biggish sunspot, otherwise nothing much going on. This is the Gas Weather This Winter Update Daily Solar Tracker from our good friend James Ackwill. James also does all the analogues. Huge thank you to James. We wouldn't be able to do these winter updates without the efforts of James Ackwill. So everybody say big thanks to James. I know James is going to be watching, and well, just hats off to you, my friend, because we couldn't do these updates without you, and the stuff you provided this year has been absolutely outstanding. So a big thank you to you. Right, the Gasworthy's solar tracker. So here we go. We started off back in September, just here. We got fairly strong activity going on at that point. You can see but what's happened as we've tracked this through the autumn. Remember the orange spots here indicating each individual day's sunspot numbers, whereas the thicker lines are indicating the trends. And we can see that what's happened through the autumn is that from the start of September, all the lines have generally been trending downwards. There we go. Activity has declined through the autumn, which you would expect because it's a declining part of the solar cycle. We're declining down to solar minimum, which we're going to reach around 2018, 2019. So we'd expect to see the trend lines going downwards. But that's a fairly sharp move down that we've seen from where we was in September when we started these updates. That is quite a drop in the trend. So the latest is that we are just here, which is at very weak levels of activity. Sometimes we are getting completely spotless days as well. And if we have a look at how solar cycle 24, which is the current solar cycle, is shaping up, you see again very much moving downwards with this solar cycle. Provisionally, James has put us just here, hasn't updated for the month of November yet, of course, still a few dates to go, but provisionally, James has put us there in terms of where we will be in solar cycle 24. So if we go back to the start of solar cycle 24 along this line, we're at this sort of level of activity, which is around where we was in 2010. So we've dropped down to 2010 levels of activity. Now you remember in 2010 we was getting a lot of cold weather. We had a really cold winter 09-10, and then we had the severe December to remember of 2010 into 2011. Now, what you've got to keep in mind with that is that those winters were coming out of solar minimum. So we went from the solar minimum of solar cycle 23 down to the start of solar cycle 24, and it was a very, very gradual increase that we had in solar cycle 24. So the winters in the 2010, around 2010, 09, 10, 10, 11, they were coming out of solar minimum, whereas now we are sort of unraveling solar maximum. I'll show you when solar maximum occurred. It happened just here, which was at the start of 2014, been downwards ever since, fairly sharp drop downwards, but we are still unraveling that solar maximum. So the greatest chance of cold winters within the solar cycle is at solar minimum, and as you come out of solar minimum, we're going into solar minimum. We're not at the best time of the cycle, but nevertheless these are very weak numbers that we're seeing now in terms of sunspots, so it probably does increase our chance of blocking and colder weather. Right, let's see how long I've been going on for. So we're up to nearly 40 minutes. Still got quite a bit to discuss, because the last thing we're going to do now is look at the overall analogues package for this autumn and how that might relate through to the winter. So again, our good friend James Ackrill has been taking all the things that we look at and putting them together. So, for example, we start with the warm September, and then we also have the Scandi blocking in October, Scandinavian blocking in October. We looked at that in some of the earlier updates. Then we have a look at the sort of pattern that we had in this November, so with quite cold conditions and blocking. Then James has also added to that the El Nino to La Nina situation and the weak La Nina winters, and also the El Nino to ENSO neutral, because we're not quite sure whether this is a weak La Nina or whether it's an ENSO neutral winter that we're going to have. And on we go through to the PDO, the AMO, so that's sort of reflecting the temperatures in the Atlantic and Pacific that we look at. Further on towards the QBO, and then solar activity, and so on. So there are 11 categories that James has looked at. He's tried to pick out the years that match closest to what we've had this year. And he's gone back to 1701 just here. That's not a great match for this year at all, because it did have a warm September, but other than that, you'll notice that nearly all of the other columns are blank, so we can certainly exclude 1701. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the years that James has been looking at for us, but you'll see that, for example, let's have a look at this year, which I think is 1806. So that's got one match there, and a match there, and a match there. So that matches up with 3 of the elements that we look at. The other ones aren't as clear cut. So I hope you get the idea of what we are trying to do with this. We're trying to get the greatest or the best matches to 2016 in terms of the Gaz Weathervids methodology. So throughout this, we are looking at years that match up with 5 or more that match up with 5 or more elements to this year, and there aren't all that many of them actually. The ones that match are coloured yellow. So we have got 1907, which has 5 matches. We've also got 1915, again, that has 5. 1931 with 5. 1943 has 5 just there, and we can carry on further down to, I think that one is possibly suggesting 19. It's a bit hard to make these out, but I think that's suggesting 1952 possibly. And then we go further down, or that could be 1953 actually, but we go further down through the column. There's 62, that's 64 as well, and we carry on down until we come to our final match, which is 2005. Also got 1995 in there. So let's just go back up, and 1962, again, we talked about that earlier on with the cold November. 1962 is just here, and that also is a fairly good match in terms of 5 drivers, 5 points that we have been looking at through this autumn, matching up with where we are right now. So 1962 is in there as part of the analogues package, winter of 62-63. So I'll just go through quickly the reanalysis of these years that are matching to where we are right now. We've got 10 matches. We start off with the winter of 1907-1908. That has a ridge out to the west, has a trough to the east, and almost a cold winter, but not quite. It's fairly Atlantic driven. It wouldn't have taken much of an adjustment to be a cold winter, but just not quite there. Then we got the winter of 1915-1916. That was a very unsettled and disturbed winter, very odd winter in some ways, very westerly at times. It had a really cold November. It had the warmest January on record, and then it had an exceptionally cold March in 1916. So wild swings backwards and forwards there in that one. The next one is in the 1930s, so this is 1931-1932, which was a very anti-cyclonic winter, or I should say 32-33. Our next winter is 1953-1954, so this one is quite a cold winter, actually. It took a while to get going. December 53 was fairly mild, but by the time we got through to January, particularly February 1954, much colder, low pressure to the south, and look, the winds were coming in from the east very regularly through that winter. 1959-1960 is our next one. This is very nearly a cold winter. We have got a negative Arctic oscillation, lots of high pressure up there, just not quite right with the low pressure. So we generally bring the jet stream through rather like that. Very changeable and quite wet winter. Almost a cold winter, but not quite. The next one is 62-63. Look at that. This is how 62-63 looks reanalyzed. It has lots of blocking to the north. Low pressure, of course, is going to be going to the south and pulling in that severely cold air from the north and from the east. 62-63 is showing up as an analogue for 2017, even though I don't think we can expect anything as severe as 62-63. It is there within the analogues package. Another one from 1960s is showing up. This one is 64-65, which again has blocking around Greenland, low pressure to the south. It's another cold winter. Again, quite a late starter with this one. December 1964 wasn't all that cold, but January, February, March 1965 were cold. So again, another cold 1960s winter coming out close to this one. And again, another 60s winter. This one is 65-66. And again, this one, again, it's one of those coldish 1960s winters. 1960s, an incredible decade for winters being quite cold. Also, the summers were terrible, but that's another issue. So, again, we see lots of high pressure up here through this winter of 65-66, with low pressure down to the south. And, again, you would expect quite a lot of easy winds. It was particularly bad around late December 65 and then into January 66, and then the winter sort of eased off later on. But there was quite a cold, snowy spell within that winter. And then our last year, big gap there. We go from that winter of 65-66 to the last winter within the analogues package is 2005-2006. And this looks like it should be a very cold winter, doesn't it? 2005-2006 was a really odd one because it has lots of high pressure to the north and the northeast, has the low pressure to the south. You would think it's a very cold winter with the wind coming in from the east and the northeast. But somehow the winter of 2005-2006 just never really came together. It was cold at times, especially late on. That could be a signal emerging through some of these years, by the way. Colder later. The expectation through many forecasts has been colder earlier and then relenting later. But these analogues seem to be picking up perhaps the idea that it might be colder later as opposed to earlier. But interestingly, the winter of 2005-2006, despite that fantastic looking reanalysis, never really came off. So, putting it all together, this is how the analogues look when you add the gas weather vintage methodology together and see which years throughout the centuries comes out closest with the methodology, with the things we've been looking at through this autumn, which years come out closest. This, and then combine them all, this is how the height anomaly looks. It looks like it's a signal for a cold winter. It looks like our methodology should be pointing us to a cold winter with below average heights to the south, above average heights to the north, and presumably, or you would expect, winds to be in from the east and the northeast. That's how the heights look when you combine all the years. And if you have a look at the mean sea level pressure anomaly, it's a very similar story. Again, low pressure, below average heights is to the south. We've got the above average heights blocking to the north. And you will think, on average, some have seen that some of the years are deviating, but on average, excuse me, we should be bringing the wind in from the east and the north, which should be a pretty cold signal for the winter. So our methodology is pointing us towards not a guarantee of a cold winter, but yes, our methodology is pointing us towards the possibility that we might have a colder than average winter. And the thing for me is that I've got to put all this together now and create the winter forecast, and I've also got to keep it back in my mind the seasonal models. We did the last seasonal model update yesterday, and it was pretty poor really for a cold winter. Many of the models were going mild, although some of the models that we rate more highly were within the colder camp. So that's it. I could go on with this for many, many more weeks of updates, and I could find lots and lots of things to talk about. But we have come to the end. That's it. We've come to the end of the journey. We're at nearly 50 minutes, so this is the longest update we've ever done, but it is under the hour. I thought we might be pushing an hour for this one. So, as I say, that's it. We've come to the end. I could go on and do more research, more analysis, and never release a winter forecast, but I've got to. We've got to draw a line under winter updates, and I've got to now go away and think about it, put it all together, and create the GazOffice.com Winter 2016-2017 forecast, taking into account everything we've discussed here, and the analogues, and the models, and just see what I can come up with. So, that's the last winter update. We are going to do the winter forecast on the 1st of December. You'll be able to see that at around 7 o'clock in the evening on Thursday, and then later on there'll also be the written version. So the video will be released Thursday around 7 o'clock in the evening. By 8-9 o'clock there'll be the written version that goes with it. So I hope you enjoyed the winter updates that we've done this year. I think they've been I think this best year we've done. We've had so much to talk about, and I don't think we've covered everything, particularly that we could have discussed. We could have gone on and discussed things more, but I've got to draw a line and say we stop now and just release a forecast on Thursday. So I hope you enjoyed the winter updates, and at almost just over 50 minutes, it's time for me to round up and say thanks so much for watching. And come back Thursday for the winter forecast. Later on today, Terry Scully will be giving us his winter forecast. And if I've got time, I probably won't have time, but if I have got time, I will do that next Christmas update. Otherwise, it'll be tomorrow. Right, thanks so much for keeping with us through the winter updates that we've done this autumn. And come back Thursday for winter forecast. Bye for now.